Hi everyone. In this video I will cover loops in VBA. Loops are used when you want to repeat a sequence of statements more than once. We have two types of loops in VBA, for next loops and do loops. For next loops is used when you know the exact number of times the loop should be executed. Do loops are used when you want to repeat the operation until some criteria is met. Here I am giving an example of for next loop. So I have created this subroutine with the name example1. Now here I'm gonna insert the syntax for next loop. For I 1 to 5, message box I, next I, and so. So the syntax is for control variable, initial value to terminating value, statement, next control variable. Now if I run this program, it would pop up 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So it would create pop-up windows showing 1 to 5. Now you can also use a variable here, n is equal to 5, and replace it with n. Again, if you run this, it would do the same for you. You can also use a formula here, an expression, n times 2. Now it would do this until 10, because I multiplied n by 2. You can also select this part of your code and hit the tab key to make it more clear for yourself. Now you can also modify the font size. You can go to Tools tab, Options, Editor Format, and select any size that you want. So it is now much finer size. Now as an example, please pause the video and do this exercise. Population increase. Use a for next loop to forecast the population of a town over the next 10 years. Assume the population in 2021 is 30,000 and that the population will increase linearly at a rate of 3% per year. So here's the code that calculates population after 10 years. I selected this name, population 10 years. Now I declared my variables, population and I, as integers. I set population equal to 30,000. Then I used this for next loop. For I from 1 to 10, set population equal to population plus 0.03 times population, next I. And then after 10 passes of this loop, it will pop up a window showing this message: the population after 10 years is round of population and 0. So this function would round the output with 0 decimal places. Now if I run this program, this pop-up message shows that after 10 years, the population would be 40,317. You can also factor population from this equation and instead put 1.03 times population. Now let's try 10 years and 20 years. So you need to change it to 20 as well. Now if I run this, it will pop up this message: the population after 20 years is 54,183. Now pause the video and try to write a code for this exercise. Total salary over career. Calculate how much someone will make by the time he or she retires. Assume retirement age is 65 and that they receive a 5% raise every year. Have the user enter their current age and current salary into input boxes. So here's the code that calculates total salary by the time of retirement. I have used input box statements to get current salary and age. Then I set sum equal to salary and then I use this for next loop here. Notice that I started from age plus 1 to 65 because for the first year we already have the salary as the sum of salary, so we need to start with age plus 1, not age. Then this equation would account for the raise in the salary, considering the 5% annual raise, and then it would sum the salary with the previous sum number that we had. And it would repeat this loop until I is equal to 65, and then it would message box round of sum with 2 decimal places. So if I run this code, first it would ask for my salary, suppose it is 100,000. Now the age, suppose I am 20, and this would be the total salary after by the time I retire. If I am 20 years old and my current salary is $100,000. Now you can also declare your variables here. I declared all my variables as single because I'm also including decimal places. Salary, age, and sum, all of them I declared all as single. You can set the step size or increments in your loops using this syntax. So you need to use a step key. So this subroutine sets the value of n to 10. Then for I from 1 to n, step size of 2, message box I, next I. Now if I run this subroutine, it would display the numbers with step size of 2 and until 9. Now you can also use negative step sizes, -1. So here so I set n equal to 1. Now for I from 5 to n with a step size of -1, it would message box the numbers 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. These are the commands that you can use to write to a cell or get from a cell in the spreadsheet. We already covered the first line when you put range cell name dot value on the left side of the equal sign. Then you are writing to the cell, so it would write this into cell C1. And if you put this command on the right side of the equal sign, then it would get the value in C1 and assign it to this variable here. So these are similar commands and properties. You can eliminate value, it would do the same for you. You can also use cells, parentheses, number of row, and then number of column. Row number, column number. So notice that this is different from this one. Here you enter the letter for column and number of row, but here you need to enter the number of row first and then the number of column. So these commands also do the same when you want to get from a cell in the spreadsheet. But the difference between cells properties and range property is that when you use cells, you can interact with a number of cells in the spreadsheet, but when you use range, you need to interact with only one cell in the spreadsheet. Now let's try this subroutine with the name write to cell. For I, 1 to 5, cells I and 1, past number and I, next I. So it would repeat this loop for 5 times, and it would write this part in cell 1 and 1, 2 and 1, 3 and 1, 4 and 1, and 5 and 1. So let's run this. Now go back to my spreadsheet. These are entered in these cells A1 to A5. Now pause the video and try to write a code to solve this exercise. Display numbers on the spreadsheet. Write a program that displays a list of numbers from 0 to 100. In column C, starting with cell C2, each number should appear in a new row. Here is the code for exercise 3. For I from 0 to 100, cells I plus 2 and 3 equals to I, next I, and so. So why I started with I plus 2? Because we don't have 0 row, and also I didn't want to start from the first row. I wanted to start from second row, so I'm adding I with 2 here. Now if I run this and go back to my spreadsheet, you can see the list of numbers from 0 to 100, and they are listed in column C starting from second row. Suppose I have these values for the radius of 7 circles. Now I want to create a code to calculate the area for these circles and write the output in column B. Now pause the video and create a code that calculates the area for these circles and write those outputs in this column. Here's the code. I chose this name, calculate radi 1. Then I assign pi as 4 times arctangent of 1. Then I use this for next loop. So this code would get the values from cell I and 1 for 7 times and assign it to the radius. Then it would calculate the area and round the area and output the result in cells I and 2. So if I run this and go back to my spreadsheet, you can see the output for area for each of these circles. Now here you can also declare your variables. I would declare pi, radius, and area as single, and I would declare I as integer. Now what if I want to include a heading on my spreadsheet? What changes are needed to my already created code? Now I would cut this column and paste it next line. And here I would type radius. Now pause the video and make some changes to your already created code and ask the code to write the output for the areas starting from this cell, B2. So here is the updated code. The only change is that I needed an offset value, which I included here. So this command would get the values from second row and column A, and the output would be written into, it would start in second row and column B, and would repeat this loop for 7 times. So we would have all the area numbers for the circles. And also I have added this command which write this text to cell B1. Now when I run this code, notice that it would start writing the output from second row in column B, and also it includes this text in the first row in column B. You can include another loop inside your for next loop. Say for example, when you want to interact with both rows and columns in your spreadsheet. Here is an example. When you run this code, it would write this inside rows from 1 to 20 and columns from 1 to 20. Now let's run this code and go to spreadsheet. So you can see the outcome here. I mentioned in the beginning of this video, we also have do loops in addition to for next loops. Here's an example. So set num equal to 1, do while num is less than or equal to 5, message box, pass number and num is set to num plus 1 loop. So this code would execute these two statements until this condition is true. And once this condition is false, it will stop running the code. Now let's run this code. You can see pop-up messages displays pass number 1, pass number 2, pass number 3, 4, and 5, and it is done. So here's the syntax for do loops: do while condition, statement, loop.